Hey, what's up guys? We're going to be going over the triple VCO based off the Moog synths. If you don't see this, you can just select it here. If you want to initialize it, just click on init from the templates, init mini mono, and then you have this gentleman. Right? And that's pretty fun. So we're going to be working kind of right to left, and then we're going to end on right. So each oscillator is labeled, 1, 2, and 3, which is pretty cool. There's no sound now because each oscillator is going through our mixer section, and the volume is at 0, so nothing's going through. If we want, oscillator 2 to go through, we just increase the output. All oscillators produce sound, and they all go into the mixer section. All oscillators, they always produce sound, but if there's no volume, then they don't go through, right? So we're going to start, with oscillator 2, right? So with each waveform, the original one, it was kind of set. So you go, so there's a saw, triangle, another saw, and square, and then, a smaller square like Pulsewidth, changing the shape of the Pulsewidth, or the size of the Pulsewidth. And you just go click, 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 right? This one it's continuous, so you can morph between, each section to get a nice sound. So it's quite apparent on the square wave. You can go square and then change that to pulse, to a very small pulse width. Very analog pulse width. So there's that. There's also two detune kind of shapes here. So we'll bring in oscillator 3. We'll detune these two guys to get a fatter sound. And that's, pretty neat. We also have tuning per octave. So, here we have tuning per semitone, so very fine tune. This right here, we can. So it's more in continuity with what we're playing. So if we bring this guy in and we have a saw below and a saw an octave higher, we get, a cool sound. So say, for example, if you wanted to sync everything, right? We can sync this to that. So the wave basically, like right now, moves around a lot up here. We can just sync them. So they start and they stop, and they're basically locked onto each other romantically. You can change the kind of pulse width here. Something that's really cool, you can have, say, like a basic saw wave here, and you can have this down here, right? And you can go to a pulse width to get more bite. You can change where the pulse width kind of sits. Tune we can change where we want it to sit, so you can get a more bitey sound. So it's locked and it's in continuity. If it's not in continuity, you get you still get a cool sound, but it's not. It wouldn't work well for a bass. So for basses, always kind of retrigger or sync those oscillators. So basically, we'll go up to the top again. So this is the first, the oscillator 1 is here. Oscillator 1 has a different kind of knob here. So both of these have like their own kind of flavor. So, and for its day, it was very robust. So what we're going to do is, this acts the same way, the same as any other oscillator, but we can completely bypass this one, use this guy, oscillator 2, and then we can modulate oscillator 2 with oscillator 1 with this modulation guy here. And this is completely silent, so this basically turns into an operator or whatever. So we get like a really kind of dirty sound. And that's very, you know, mogy. So we can frequency modulate, but then we can sync it, right? So it's more appropriate. Sounds more appropriate. Right? And then we can bring our sub oscillator in, just because we're crazy. It sounds jarbled, but we can sync it, of course. So you can see we have a very kind of unique wave form. You know, very kind of fast, sharp waveforms for, you know, sounds very digital. And you know, with proper filtering and proper filtering and feedback and distortion, you can get a very awesome sound of Doom. Yeah, so we have our modulation section here, and that's controlled by envelopes and LFOs, or you can change that. But we're going to get into modulation later, but I'll just kind of show you. So we have, like, say, our tune mod here. Now we can modulate the tune of it if I do this correctly. We are synced. Our FM is on. Right, so the envelope, the second envelope is I really shouldn't be doing this now, but yeah, whatever. The second envelope is affecting the pitch, the tune of oscillator 2, right? And that's all cool. And then we can also do something called shape mod, which is kind of like Pulsewidth modulation, but it's kind of modulating the shape of this, and it's controlled by LFO2 down here. Oh, wrong one. It's making it wibbly wobble. So, you know, if we're careful about it, we can get some unique Pulsewidth modulation. Or saw with modulation. So we can modulate between a saw and a square. And that's pretty cool. So that's basically the VCO. Oh yeah, so we have noise. So white noise is brighter. You see it's smooth leveling, smooth sailing. In the frequency analyzer, in pink noise, more rolled off. It's not as harsh. So for a Moog sound, you add a bit of white noise. You're golden. Oscillator sync, it sounds pretty cool. And that's all well and good. And feedback, we're going to be getting into feedback later, but the nature of the triple VCO module is that, you know, feedback is built in. So I'll show you what that kind of does. So we'll have a triangle in no noise. With noise, feedback sounds amazing. We have our triangle there. What we can do is boost the feedback to kind of shape and add a bit more fatness. What it was is they would take the output of the filter output of the Moog, they would take the audio output of the Moog and then feed it back into the filter input and overdrive the filter, and you get some pretty cool sounds, which now comes stock on the sub-fatty. So we're effectively turning a triangle wave into a saw wave, or a square wave. So what does that do? Well, if you have something with a lot of weird harmonics, you can shape it. That's where you get that, you know, fat sound, quote unquote. Right, and that's basically the fatness of the triple VCO. That was an amazing video. Hope you liked it, and we'll be back with more. Take care.